Hello everyone, it is November 21st, updating the current swing trading stock watch list. Overall, market conditions are good. That means I am willing to deploy capital, assuming I see setups that trigger. So that is what this list is about, looking for stocks that I could potentially see myself taking some trades in. And this is the process. I look at overall market conditions. Then we look for, in this case, we're moving up, so I'm looking for strong individual stocks to go long in, looking for patterns, and then trade triggers. So this list is about finding the strong stocks and the patterns, and then we need to wait for the trade trigger. So for the contractions and cup and handles, these articles are at the top of the page here if you want to know how to trade them. 207 stocks on the list. There were 242. I updated this on November 8th, so almost a couple weeks ago. So moving down, interestingly, despite the stronger stock market, I had fewer stocks that met this criteria. And so these are the ones that I basically scanned through those 207, looked through the manually, find contractions, rounded tops, contractions, cup and handle patterns. We do actually have a rounded bottom in here. And same thing for the Canadian stocks, pretty much the same scan, just a little bit lower volume, lower price requirement as well. And then we have the TATR list, the Trend ATR strategy. And so let's just quickly go through these and see what I am looking at. ACHC. So I already have this one up here, and I noticed a bit of a rounded bottom here, so we've been moving sideways and starting to just creep up, making some higher swing highs here and some higher swing lows. But we also have a contraction pattern in here and basically need a consolidation. So if we stay here pretty much where we are today and we have one more day of staying in this area, then we can look for a breakout above. Don't like that it's been moving sideways coming into this pattern. Shows, it's kind of, we almost start guessing if this is going to be the breakout that works when it's been moving sideways for so long. What I do like about it is that the indexes are moving up, and this held up very well while the indexes were dropping. So showing some overall strength, and we've had earnings out, which I was waiting for earlier on. And so now that that's out of the way, so we have a few months before our next earnings announcement, and we'll see if this one gets going. But yeah, it needs to consolidate at the moment, or the rounded bottom actually already happened. We had the pullback, we had this pause out, so when we started breaking above, could have actually gone long in this area once we started moving back up. More of the rounded bottom entry, something I discuss a lot in my day trading courses. AIT, very strong momentum, and we can see it getting squeezed here. So ideally, we have a pretty clean edge up here, but if we could get another day or so of consolidation, that would really help break out above. That's what we'd be waiting for. In phase, cup and handle pattern, we had the drop, we've come back, first drop, second drop, consolidating in here. Could have actually gone long a couple days ago. Like I said, I didn't update this, I was working on the day trading stock course. So could have actually gone long right there on that little pop up. And so then in that case, you'd already be in this one with a stop loss below here. If you're not in, you could basically wait for a new consolidation or enter back in as the price pushes back up into this above 315 area, basically where our original entry would have been. ET, this one drifting down a little bit, but you can see not a ton of selling momentum, bigger drop, a little bit smaller drop, and then we're really struggling to move lower. So if we can get a little move up and then a consolidation up in this area here, that would be nice. Never assume that these things are going to happen. I actually wait for them to happen. So this one, EXTR, already broke out. and you can see we were first drop, second drop, a little bit of a false shootout there, but we wouldn't have had a trade out. We didn't have a consolidation yet. But then we do get a nice little ledge here, 2-3 day consolidation. So anywhere really in this area could have gone long once we broke out above these few candle highs. Didn't have to wait for the break out of the whole pattern. Once we started moving sideways there, could have gone long. I said in about the 1870 range, 1880. So it's still hanging out in that area. We're moving on to fix. Same thing, bigger drop, smaller drops. We got contracted in here. This was only about a 2-day sideways pattern. If you included this bigger one, then you have 3 days of sideways movement up. So it could have gone long already here in this 24 area, but we had a little bit of a gap. So we have a couple options here. Put on an entry order near 124, get filled on a potential pullback. Or if this consolidates again, it's a little bit above the original pattern, but still pretty close. So if this consolidates, we get another day of sideways. Could also go long if it breaks out above this consolidation here that's currently forming. Glop. And yeah, it just needs to move up and consolidate. First drop, we're in the second drop right now, and it's starting to move up. So we basically just need a little push up and then a consolidation, and then we're waiting for, once that consolidation forms, if the price moves above it, then we're potentially going long. Imperial Oil, same thing. This actually, since I've looked at this actually had a bit of a bigger drop today. So let's measure this out and see if we are still in a contraction pattern. That first drop was about, let's say, 7.7%. The second drop, well, maybe a tiny bit smaller, not much though. But overall, nice strong movement. So we've had our first drop, second drop, and we still need a fair bit for this to, similar to Glop, we'd need to move up, consolidation, and then the price would still have to move above that consolidation to potentially take along. So probably at least a few days away, several days away for that one. ORLY. Not as much of a contraction. If we drew a rectangle around this, it's pretty much just a little range, but looking pretty attractive with this overall momentum up, and needs to consolidate for an entry. So that would mean a couple days sideways here, and then the breakout. So it looks something like this. Price moves in here, and then we're waiting for the move out. The other option is a TATR entry. Basically, if today closes where it is, will be above that ATR line. That would be a potential trend ATR entry. So that's another option. And the last one, PY, no notes on that one. Can get rid of this. And first drop, second drop, and starting to consolidate potentially here. We have moved up. So this one, if we get a consolidation ready to go, it'd be nicer if we moved up a little bit and then consolidated, but overall, this is still a valid pattern, is potentially forming a consolidation, depending on how the next couple days go. EFN was the only one I saw on Canadian, and I did not really like it. It's pretty whipsaw at the moment. Could just be related to earnings. So I would like to see, just because it's been so kind of whipsaw-y here the last week or so, it'd be nice to see a nice consolidation with a very clean edge high, so that it gives you a very specific point to go long. And yeah, at the moment, unless I get that, I probably wouldn't enter this one. Just, not that it can't do well, but it just feels a little bit too, yeah, with those whipsaws, it could be too easy to get stopped out on. So we got lots of other options, so no reason to, on the US side, not much on the Canadian side at the moment, so no reason to jump in if it's not great. And these are the TATR strategies. So I've written basically where they are relative to the ATR line, kind of what's going on with them. How I go through these, the list had a lot more on the last couple months. It's been 30 to 60 stocks. This week was 134. So I'll just go through them quickly on FinViz. I just kind of scan through them. So I'm also kind of looking for patterns I like. And I'm just, if they've just shot up, I know that they're not going to be close to the ATR line. So I'm basically looking for pullbacks and still contraction patterns, things like that, because those will often end up being close to the ATR trigger line or entry line. So AMLX, and we can throw on the line. You can see these do a pretty good job of catching the major moves. These settings 6 and 1.5, and just hanging out right below the line. So basically, if we start to pop up, our entry signal will trigger, and we could have that one stem already triggered, just hanging out in the entry area. So this would have been the original entry point. A move below this will stop it, or a close below this line will stop it out. So you can see we're basically hanging out just below the original entry point. Probably wouldn't buy it while it's dropping, but if we start to move up, maybe take out a candle high or two, then maybe look at entering. No reason to buy it while it's falling. CEG, again, already triggered. So this was our move above the ATR line. So again, we're just hanging out. In this case, we have had the little pop up. We're below the original, so this is not a bad spot. INMD. So similar here, we're a little above. This was our entry there, and it's come back. It's pretty close, so could enter with, basically we get a close below this green line right here. So we have a very close stop loss in this case, so not a whole lot. So yeah, close to the entry area, DXCM. Same thing, contracting just above that line, so not a bad entry point. Even here, if we started to move up, once it moves above these recent candle highs here, that might not be a bad entry either. Stop loss still pretty close. We're waiting for closes, so we don't know exactly what our stop loss will be on these, but the closer we are to that line, generally the smaller our stop loss will be. SVC. Had a tough time, this property trust, but we've had some quite strong rallies recently, and also forming a contraction pattern here. So the contraction breakout would pretty much coincide with the TATR entry, with the price starting to move up above these recent candles here. So waiting to see if that happens. IBKR. Just waiting for a pop up. We've had these kind of rhythmic moves up. This stock isn't a huge mover. Looking at these, by the time we get out, you're looking, only 6 or 7%. But fairly rhythmic movement, so if we can, especially if this starts to pull down a little bit, the ATR line, and we could get in down here, possibly if that drops over the next little bit, then potentially catch the next wave up. PCG. So these ones all just awaiting triggers in. This one getting very close if we close above that line. Potential long, nice uptrend. Almost like a contraction pattern and starting to push back up. BTU, similar thing. This one a little bit more flat recently, but we had this bigger drop and we've had this push up. So we have a little bit of momentum in these where going long wouldn't have hurt us, but we're really hoping for a bigger move coming out of this, almost like a cup and handle now where we've had this bigger drop and we're trying to push up. And so hopefully this is just starting to get going if it pushes up, and we'll have one of these bigger moves. No guarantees though, we have no idea, and a little flat at the moment overall. So again, we can't trade all of these, so you just kind of look at them and decide which ones you're going to trade based on what you see. CAR was from the prior list. I still find it interesting. It's had big price moves. You know, some of these swings 50% or so, 50% drops. Now we've had a big rally, and we're just pausing out a nice little contraction pattern here. So if we start pushing up above that red line, that is an entry. PRTA. Again, another one from a prior list. Big gap up here, which is equivalent to a high momentum move up. And we are starting to contract in here. And you can see hanging out right near recent entry. Where did the price hold above it? Actually would have held up there, waiting for the close. So we're just hanging out below the entry, starting to move up. So yeah, if we continue pushing up, we'd still be near the original entry point, and we have that bit of extra confirmation that we've at least started pushing up off these recent lows. So that is the trades I'm watching this week. Obviously won't be able to trade all of them, so I have to go through and throughout the week I'll see which ones are actually setting up, which ones, as a few start setting up, comparing which ones I like the best. Reminder, Black Friday sale going on right now, 20% off all trading courses. Use code BLACKFRIDAY2022. And the day trading stock course just got released, so you can check that out on the site too if you're interested in day trading stocks as well as potentially swing trading. These methods you can incorporate if you're around near the market open. You can potentially capture some trades in the first 15 minutes of the day with these strategies that are covered. So 15 to half an hour in the morning, potentially do a bit of trading before work or something. So worth checking out. And until next time, happy trading.